A descendant of the first military exoskeletons on Earth, the Mark VI Amplified Mobility Platform, or AMP suit, proved its capabilities as a walking platform for both civilian and military applications. It was extensively used on the Moon and Mars colonies before being put to use on Pandora, where its sealed and pressurized cabin provided effective protection from the toxic atmosphere and dangerous native wildlife. Standing at 4.2 meters in height, the AMP suit towered over even the indigenous Na'vi. Each was built on site at the Hell's Gate stereolithography plant out of locally sourced composites and ceramics, with electronics and other complex components being shipped in via ISV. Thanks to the materials used in its construction, the suit was surprisingly lightweight for its size at only 1,700 kilograms. The lower legs and bottom of the feet were reinforced for mine resistance, and the canopy was made from transparent impact-resistant glass polymer laminate. The fully enclosed cockpit was maintained at 0.3 psi overpressure to prevent ingress of the toxic Pandoran atmosphere, and also included a built-in breathing system in the event of a breach or canopy ejection. This canopy afforded excellent visibility to the driver, with sightlines extending behind the suit thanks to mirrors in the cockpit. This was further improved by a heads-up display that projected radar, active infrared, and passive thermal targeting data for the driver, as well as GPS if available, and night vision. These allowed full visibility even in the dark, or if the canopy was protected by an optional blast shield, though Pandora's strong electromagnetic fields often interfered with their sensitive electronics. External sounds were reproduced with full directionality within the cockpit, allowing the driver to hear and respond to other AMP suits or ground troops nearby, or talk to them via external speakers. A highly robust 6849 RLF gas turbine provided the power for each platform, lasting up to 8 hours when run at medium power, backed up by a highly energy-dense fuel cell for a further 2 hours of runtime. In the event of driver injury or death, each suit had walkback capability up to the range that this power plant provided, triggered by the driver or remotely from SecOps headquarters at Hell's Gate. Walkback was designed to protect the investment made in each suit, as shipping in the complex systems for each unit on ISVs was extremely expensive. Rather than a design with integrated weapons, the suit was built to be multi-purpose, mimicking the same functionality as a human with 2 legs, 2 arms, and highly dexterous hands. This allowed the suit to perform duties other than being a simple weapons platform. These were all controlled directly by the driver's own limbs using zero-latency servo armatures, with the suit's other systems controlled by voice commands coded to the driver's voice print. The arms were activated by thumb control, which could transition them between standing rest position and that of the driver's arms in less than a second. Due to limited space in the cockpit, the controls for the arms moved in a 1:2 ratio. This scaling improved the spatial positioning of the hands, which themselves had a direct 1:1 response to those of the driver. This is what allowed them to perform complex tasks such as weapon loading, alongside the force feedback system. This resisted the movement of the driver's arms when the suit's arms met an obstacle, and even went down to proportional pressure on each of their fingertips. This meant that an experienced driver could pick up an egg without breaking it, or operate in total darkness using nothing but touch. The legs were more complicated due to the seated position of the driver and limited space in the cockpit, and were actuated by foot pedals rather than servo armatures. These pedals sensed the force and direction of input, which was translated by the computer into pre-programmed leg movements. Essentially, the driver created cues that provided the suit with their intentions, which the computer then carried out while taking into account the terrain and momentum of the suit. This was all backed up by solid-state gyro sensors and a dynamic balance system which compensated for shifts in the unit's center of gravity, with instant adjustments to maintain balance. The system did have its limits, however, and could be overcome by direct hits from something large enough. The suit's strength and versatility allowed a driver to punch through trees, lift cargo crates, or build prefab units by themselves. Despite their complexity, the hands were also very strong, capable of exerting a grip force of over 150 kilograms per square centimeter. However, it took many hours of training for an AMP suit driver to master the control systems, with the biggest challenge being the differing ratios of movement. After 2 months, a driver could perform adequately in combat conditions, but it would take many more to perform such actions as full recovery from a face-up supine position. To help with these issues, each suit had to be calibrated to its driver, which also limited the chance of hyperextension injuries. SecOps suits could be armed with a variety of weapons, but those in service on Pandora typically carried the GAU 90 30mm cannon. This was hip-fired, but included active recoil dampening and a gyroscopic stabilizer to make it easier to keep on target. The cannon was fully automatic and gas-cooled, firing high-explosive incendiary rounds at a rate of 250 rounds per minute. Ammunition was fed to the gun using a disintegrating link belt that passed through a flex chute from the back-mounted ammo canister. Armor-piercing and tracer ammunition could be fired, but the high-explosive round was preferred for rapid clear-cutting of the dense Pandoran jungle. The underside of the gun was fitted with a fixed-point cutting tool, a modular attachment which was used to clear underbrush when operating in dense foliage or wires in urban environments. The form factor of an oversized bayonet was chosen following the popularity of the tool's free-use alternative. This took the form of an amp suit scaled knife, measuring in at over 1 meter in length, weighing 34 kilograms, and made of a self-sharpening diamond-hard ceramic. During development on Earth, early iterations of this attachment were originally fixed to the underside of the suit's forearm, but this proved dangerous when suits in use with police were used for non-lethal riot control. On Pandora, SecOps platforms stored the blade in a sheath on the front of the cockpit. Rather than using a more practical square or V-shaped cutter, the knife shape was selected by the manufacturer as it proved to be very popular with defense buyers and amp suit drivers with a SpecOps mindset. Ultimately, this rendered the weapon less useful for its intended purpose of clearing underbrush and vines, but did not limit its lethality. As the amp suit's weapon systems were hand-operated, this gave it a degree of operational flexibility not afforded by fixed weaponry. As such, they could also be equipped with a Bush Boss FD-11 flamethrower, the larger version of the man-portable FD-3. This was used as an industrial defoliant, removing leaves and smaller plants. The modularity and versatility of the suits made them perfectly suited to multiple roles on Pandora, including construction, security for mining vehicles, and perimeter defense of Hell's Gate. Only SecOps suits were permitted beyond the Hell's Gate perimeter, and suits driven by non-SecOps personnel did not have a weapon systems interface or rack space for ammunition. As they were too large to be carried en masse by the SA-2 Samsons, suits were transported by both spare TAV-37 Valkyrie shuttles and the C-21 Dragon assault ship for longer distance sorties. When not in use, they were stored in the large fortified bunker in Hell's Gate called the Armor Bay. The unparalleled versatility of the Mark VI amplified mobility platform was especially important for deployment to Pandora, where almost everything had to be built and maintained on site. Its time-tested all-terrain design proved popular with drivers, and the suits were a key element in the protection of Hell's Gate.